Alex, we're back.
Hello, sorry.
What's so funny?
the sound you made before you started.
What?
I can't even do it.
It's kind of like a Wookiee.
Yeah.
Love me a Wookiee.
Yes.
Speaking of Wookiees,
Oh, no.
because of course I am nearly done my voyage into Star Wars Clone Wars. We're catching up to the current season. And I forgot that there is this series of episodes that follows these younglings making their lightsabers. And one of the younglings is a Wookiee named Gungi. And I am
Not Chewbacca,
Not Chewbacca.
just to be clear.
But so he's a young, so he is a kid Wookiee
Okay.
named Gungi. and
Any
he is-
relation to Chewbacca?
No, they're just Wookiees.
Damn.
They're both just Wookiees. Chewbacca does show up in the show though at some point.
That's good.
He gets captured by hunters.
Who doesn't love Chewbacca?
No, yeah, exactly. Chewbacca's the best.
Everyone loves Chewbacca. I've never met a single person who doesn't like Chewbacca.
You saw Rise of Skywalker, right? So you know how in Last Jedi they had they did the tribute for Carrie Fisher.
Mm-hmm.
Did they do the same thing in Rise of Skywalker for the actor who played Chewbacca? Because if they didn't, I'm gonna be really mad about it.
I don't remember.
Okay, we're gonna
Maybe. I don't remember. You still haven't watched it, so
No,
we're still waiting.
I'm
Somehow still waiting for you to watch it, even though I said I would watch it with you for my second
I'm
time.
waiting another month for it to come on Blu-ray and totally get Blu-ray, not find it online once somebody uploads a Blu-ray onto Footlocker or
Exactly.
something. But anyway, Alex, that's neither here nor there. I want to ask you. People always ask, where were you when the golden goal was scored? I want to ask you, where were you October 29th, 2019? What were you doing? Where was Alex October 29th?
What day is that? A Saturday?
I have no clue.
I just threw a random date out there. October 29th was a Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Were we in Cheryl's class?
We might have been in Cheryl's class.
Possibly doing a newsroom or something.
Possibly.
Because that's the last time Jimmy Howard had a win for the Detroit.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
On the season, Jimmy Howard in 27
no.
games played has 2 wins, 21 losses, 2 overtime losses,
I feel really bad.
a 4.20, oh that's right, a 420 goals against average, and an 8.82 save percentage.
You know, I feel bad. I'm not going to lie.
I do too.
Because, like, at the beginning of the season, and even last year, right, he signed an extension some point last year. I don't remember when off the top of my head. But I thought that was kind of silly because they could have got assets for Jimmy Howard
Oh yeah.
last year. And going into this year, I said, okay, another season they could have got assets for him, but I don't think anyone would have been calling on Jimmy Howard. And I'd be quite surprised if there was a team who was.
I was looking at his career stats, and his career save percentage is up at a 913, which is not bad.
No.
That's pretty good.
And does that take into account this year and like last year when they were not that good?
I believe it does. This is from NHL.com. So he's always had a bit of a rough bone in his career, because it's just that whole like backup situation back in Detroit's heyday and that. If you look at NHL.com, there's like a description of his career. It basically talks about how he kind of got screwed out of being the starter for a few years, and Mike Babcock and all that kind of stuff. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I have his stats up here too. Like, he's been a pretty somewhat consistent goalie to a certain extent. Like, I'm looking at his numbers at least. Like, even last year or the last 2 years, considering how poor the team has been. Last year, Jimmy Howard was 23, 22, and 5 and had a .909 save percentage.
That's not terrible.
The year before, and the Red Wings were still not very good, 22, 27, and 9 with a .910 save percentage.
League average.
Like, what the hell happened? Like, obviously the team in front of him is really not good.
It does say something, just talking about how bad a year Detroit has really had this year. Of course, it's all intentional, but the permanent damage this could do, because I think an underrated part of this is that they lost the locker room presence of Henrik Zetterberg, and is Dylan Larkin really the best guy to really, because he's the future captain of that team. And who else is there from the old guard?
Danny DeKaiser.
Oh, great. Danny Deek and
Johan Franzen, I believe, is still on LTIR.
So he's probably in Sweden skiing.
Let me pull up their cap friendly. There's definitely a couple names. Oh, I got one for you. Justin Abdelkader.
I don't know what it is about him, but I always want to bring him up, but I never remember his name.
How about this one? Darren Helm.
The captain of LTIR.
Well, he's not on LTIR right now.
Oh, he will be, though. He always is.
How about this one? Jonathan Eriksson.
My silence, I think, speaks volumes. But Dylan Larkin is a guy who's gonna be there for the long term, right? He's that team's future captain, and I just think there was this picture of him after their loss to the Sens, and he just had his head down and his arms wrapped around his head. He looked shell shocked.
Well, it must be frustrating. Can I read you what their record is right now?
I would love that.
They're obviously last in the league by 19 points.
The only team eliminated so far.
Only team eliminated. In 67 games, they are 15, 47, and 5 with 35 points. They have a goal differential, which not many people really care about, but this one is extremely significant. Negative 120. The next closest team, Ottawa, negative 46.
No words to describe.
That's almost triple. That's almost triple.
It's not, I can't even say my normal phrase of, hey, we'll keep an eye on this, because it's just going to continue to just be terrible.
It can't get worse.
I was figuring out what games to watch the other day after the Habs one had finished, and I think I saw Detroit Buffalo again. I almost clicked it and realized, Adam, you've already done this to yourself once this season. Why are you going to put this kind of game on again?
Yeah, I see. There's a couple of things that at this point of the season you want to turn on, and usually you kind of look at the bottom of the standings and go, okay, which teams are really going to give a team a real kick in the ass?
Mm-hmm.
And usually there's a couple teams. This year there is zero. There's one team. If they're playing, I might turn their game on. Ottawa.
Really?
Yeah, man. They just look like they're having fun, even though they suck, and they know they suck. It's like they're embracing it.
Yeah, DJ Smith's done a really, really good job of just being I would say the deputy of fun.
Wow, imagine if he was allowed to do things in Toronto. Imagine.
Well, we're talking about fun. We're talking about the Sens in connection with Detroit here, of course. Now, Detroit and the Sens just actually had a home-and-home. And in the first game of that, now this is probably one of the best stories in the league. We're all talking about David Ayers, of course. That's a story that's bigger than hockey itself. But in the scope of hockey, of course, in his first game back from the NHL/NHL PA Assistance Program, and after 100 days of sobriety, Bobby Ryan scores his first hat trick in years versus the Detroit Red Wings in his Ottawa Sens return.
No, it's awesome.
I
love it.
Crying. There were Bobby chants. I got emotional watching it. I won't lie. Bobby Ryan's not going to listen to this podcast.
Probably not.
He doesn't care what strangers say, but I am proud of Bobby Ryan.
I hope he listens to the podcast.
I hope all of them. I hope everyone in the league listens to this podcast. I'm looking at you, Brett Kulak. Get on this show right now. But in all seriousness, I am proud of Bobby Ryan.
Yeah, you know what the other thing is as well is I think not only that, him coming back from the NHL Players the Assistance Program, but the fact that he got that reaction, and the last couple of years have not been fun for him, considering his contract and what everyone says about it.
It was the anchor that was going to be the Erik Karlsson deal of, you got to take Bobby Ryan, and just everyone ripping it. He was the butt of so many Ottawa jokes in a valley of things to make fun of the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah.
This is just you also look at this from as the Sens as a whole as an organization. A fantastic year for them. AKA Melnick hasn't done anything stupid.
I haven't heard Eugene Melnick at all this year.
Which is exactly what they needed.
And they have 3 first-round picks, 4 second-round picks, 2 third-round picks, and 2 first-round picks that are going to be lotteries.
I wonder if Bettman said something.
I don't... that's interesting. I want... For me, I wouldn't be surprised if he said something, but the comments that he makes outside of the situation when he's asked, it doesn't seem like he's really the guy who's going to go in there, considering the things that he was dealing with when he was first commissioner. Literally, I think they talk about all the time, he was literally just blowing out. He was a firefighter. The guy was just blowing out fires left, right, and center.
Hello, owners in jail.
Right. So I wouldn't be surprised if he said something like, you know what, why don't you lay low for this year?
A friendly pat on the back, but really he got something in his other hand to keep you quiet there.
Keep quiet, because this team, if it goes well, it could, like, it'd be very interesting to see what happens. I mean, considering I wish the arena wasn't in the middle of nowhere, because I think that it could be, like, there's not a lot to do. I've been to Ottawa a couple of times. I mean, they do have their football team. Like, they have the Ottawa Red Blacks. They have their somewhat professional soccer team. There's not a whole lot to do in Ottawa.
It's just full of senators.
It's literally just, full of senators, hockey players, and politicians. And politicians, right? So this rebuild, and we've talked about it on the podcast a lot, this rebuild can turn things around for this organization. I think about having 2 lottery picks and how much, at least from Sportsnet and Sam Cosentino and Jeff Merrick, how much they talk about this draft. Not like just starting with Alexis Lafreniere.
And they could have him. They could have Quentin Byfield.
They could have, like, everyone.
Yeah.
Literally. Like, I think that it can go well. And I would be surprised if they have all 4 second-round picks going into the second day. I think they could package it and get something of value depending on what they want to do. Or they can make 4 picks. Obviously, I'm not Pierre Dorion, but for me, I think a lot of people made fun of Pierre Dorion because he made the Mark Stone, the Mark Stone deal, actually, I didn't mind.
We're a team.
He made the Erik Karlsson trade, which really didn't look good. And there was a couple other things that he did that really didn't look good. But I think he was really stopped by Eugene Melnick. I think he just lost a lot of credit because he made really dumb moves because he was being pushed by an owner.
Especially the Erik Karlsson stuff, for sure, because we heard stuff about, like, Melnick giving crap to Karlsson about an Uber and the team card, and you remember there was the rumor of that 8-year deal at 11 per that was more of just a, hey buddy, look,
right.
Like not as a Daniel Chara situation of we didn't give him an offer. Well, Jesus, the Sens have a history of this.
I think there was another situation coming out of Ottawa too last year or 2 years ago. Their coach, now the name's not coming to me.
Oh, the bug-eyed walrus.
The French guy. That's what I remember. He was
French.
French.
Bob Hartley?
No.
The other dude that, oh God.
It was last year. They fired him.
You sure you don't mean Randy Lee?
No. I know. I don't remember his name. But either way, a week before they fired him, they said he was our coach. They said that this guy was their coach. And then a week later, they fired him. And everyone was blaming Pierre Dorion. I mean, Pierre Dorion could be the guy that said, we need to fire
Guy
him.
Boucher.
Guy Boucher. Thank you. It very well could have been Pierre Dorion, but I don't think you make a statement like that and a week later, when you're already at the bottom, you change your mind. I really do think that there's a lot of pushing from Eugene Melnick.
Yes.
Going on there between him and Pierre Dorion. And I was very surprised that they didn't end up hiring a president of hockey operations.
And it seemed like no one wanted the job either.
Well, they should have given it to Doug McLean, obviously.
Hey, I mean, he's available, unfortunately. Alex, though, I say we park the car there, and I say we go to the back, we take out the groceries, and the groceries are these two pieces of fruit.
Okay.
Ripe pieces of fruit.
What fruit are they?
One is let's say it's a thing of blueberries, right?
Okay, what's the other one?
The other one is what's a burgundy fruit?
Like purple?
Burgundy.
I don't know any like maybe you can throw an apple in there. Just
Yeah,
depending on the color of the apple.
There's a dozen apples in one bag, and the other one is
I
a
might
bunch
take
of
the apples.
is a bunch of blueberries.
Okay, I might take the apples.
Now, in this scenario, what I'm trying to get at here is there are these two fantastic young defensemen that are going head to head for the Calder this year. There's Quentin Hughes of the Vancouver Canucks, who in 63 games this year, he has 51 points. Incredible. Then over in Colorado, 56 games played, 47 points, 12 goals, Cale Makar.
Okay.
Now, and there was, I forgot who put the poll up, but somebody put it up on Twitter saying, who do you think deserves the Calder Trophy, aka NHL Rookie of the Year? And it was between these two. It was between Makar and Quentin Hughes. Forget about Victor Olovzin. Forget about Nick Suzuki.
Ilya Mikheyev.
Ilya, stop it. Ilya Samsonov has not been getting any attention, which, he should. Goalies never get it. It was from
Igor Shesterkin.
Igor Shesterkin. I think he started too late, but it's these two defensemen.
Yeah, I don't think anyone else. I think at this point people are fighting for the third final spot.
Yes.
I think it really whoever wins, it's between these two.
So it was Ian Tulloch. He put up a tweet that said, "If the season ends today, who's your pick for the Calder Trophy?" There's 4 hours left on this poll. 4,545 people
Have voted. Okay.
49% Cale Makar, 51% Quentin Hughes. By the way, I just want to say that if there's a Canadian team that has a presence on Twitter that is there to defend their player,
It is the Vancouver.
it's the Vancouver. You cannot say anything about defensemen, the Norris, the Calder. You can't even bring up Nick Lidstrom without Vancouver Canucks fans bringing in the idea of Quentin.
That's very
Quentin
different
Hughes.
than what we're used to.
Yeah, normally,
because
our fan bases are more everything is terrible and burn it to the ground.
Right.
When the Canucks are like, Louis Eriksson is an effective player it just isn't low shooting percentage. Gah.
Yeah. Okay, so you want my opinion?
Yeah, who do you think deserves it?
Who do I think deserves it, or who do I think will win it?
Who do you think? Okay,
Do you want
Who
both
do you
answers?
think is going to win it? Let's start with
I
that.
probably think if the rest of the season goes and neither of them get injured, I would guess that Quinn Hughes wins it simply because I think he'll end up with more points, and I think he has played more games, he'll get more votes. I don't agree with that. I think Cale Makar deserves to win it. I mean, from what I've seen of both players, which is probably limited, I do like Cale Makar better.
So,
And it helps that he's right-handed.
for example, Cale Makar has played 7 games less than Quentin Hughes. 4 points less in those games.
Right.
And there is, again, and I don't want to discount Quentin Hughes here because games played is something that we don't give a lot of credit to in this game, to be honest. And who is the Florida defenseman?
Aaron Ekblad.
Not Aaron Ekblad.
Michael Matheson.
No.
Keith Yandel.
Keith Yandel is approaching the record for, I think, most consecutive games played,
Okay.
right? And, I think we got to give more credit to games played. Look at Matt Cullen, for example. That guy, he hit 1,500, no one talked about it. I mean, that's 1,500 games more than I'll ever play in the NHL, right?
That is true.
And I just think, yes, it should be there, but I've seen the Colorado Avalanche live this year because, of course, they were in Montreal for a game.
Right.
It was Caden Primo's first NHL game.
Yes, it was. I remember that.
Hello. Do you know what? Sorry to make this quickly. Do you know what Igor Shesterkin and Caden Primo have in common?
Were they both drafted in the same year?
I have no idea, but that's not where I was going with it.
Okay.
They were both their NHL starts were against the Colorado Avalanche and Nathan MacKinnon.
Oh, yes, Igor Shesterkin did start against.
Yes.
I forgot about that.
But in that game I went to, there was not a player who caught my eye more than Cale Makar. He is so good. And his skating, my dear God.
They were not drafted in the same year, by the way.
They were not?
No, 3
All right.
years apart.
See, I remember the 2017 draft.
Igor Shesterkin was 2014.
2014? That long ago.
Yeah, because he was in Russia, right? He's been in Russia. That's
True.
why you don't realize how long ago that was.
So listen to this. This is the
Okay.
2017 draft. Probably one of the strangest drafts that in recent memory. Because it's Heischer.
Oh, I thought that was the Dahlin draft.
No. Heischer. But no one talks about how good Dahlin is, by the way.
Yeah, because he plays in Buffalo.
He's so good. Anyway, though. So Nico Heischer first. Good pick.
Yeah,
Nolan Patrick has had health issues. That's unfortunate. Miro Heiskanen, by the way, Dallas Stars fan, they are sneaky protective over Miro Heiskanen.
I would be too.
And of course, this is the year Colorado finished last. They fell back, and then they get Cale Makar. Then, of course, Patterson was at 5th. And if we go look at Quentin Hughes' draft, his 2018, that, of course, was Dahlin, Svechnikov, Kotkaniemi, Kachuk, Hayden, Zadina,
Wow.
then Hughes. So they're 2 defensemen that are from 2 very interesting drafts, in my opinion.
Was that the draft? Now, you'd probably know better than I do. Was that the draft
2018.
that Brian Burke always talks about? That teams had, was it Pedersen they had at number 1, or it was Quinn Hughes that they had at
It
number
was
1?
Pedersen that there was 4 teams that had him number 1, and they know for sure that the only one they can figure out is Nashville had him at number 1.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean,
So not
looking
Hughes,
at it,
not Hughes.
not Hughes,
Okay.
no. But there were. I remember. I forget where I was listening to it, but it might have been Hockey Central when they had someone come on for the Canucks. But they were talking about how it's a miracle that Hughes fell, because if you remember the 2018 draft, now the Habs screwed everything up at 3 drafting for position, and then of course the Coyotes were like, "Oh, hello there, I'm gonna take Barrett Hayden," and then
That made it was just a free for all.
that made no sense. So Quentin Hughes should have been a potentially top 4 pick. So they're 2 very interesting players with
top 3.
very interesting story. Yeah, probably.
I would have taken him over Zadina. I would have taken him over Hayton. I would have taken him over Kachuk.
Really, because I think the question for 3rd is either Kachuk or Hughes.
I would have taken Hughes.
You would have.
Yeah.
They're both good players, but
I don't know. I like Hughes. Like, I was watching him last night at the game because they played Toronto, and like I just loved him.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, from what I was watching.
And then, of course, if we look at the 2017 draft, you probably see that Pedersen's first. And then keep in mind, Makar did go back to play in the NCAA,
Right.
which is very smart. You look at Hughes, the other Hughes, Jack Hughes, and how him coming the first player to come straight from the U.S. Developmental League.
That probably wasn't the smartest move.
No, it wasn't. And I think if you redo the 2017 draft, let me ask you, Elias Pettersson is probably first over Heiskanen and Patrick Heischer, without a question, right?
I think for me, if I'm going to redo the top 5, I don't think yet there's anyone in the first round that there's really big movement into the top 5. But I would say it's Pettersson, Heiskanen, Makar, Heischer.
I think that's fair. By the way, I'm not tooting his horn here, but Nick Suzuki probably moves up as well.
Yeah, he moves up. I just don't think he moves into the top 5.
Yeah, I don't think he goes over Heischer. He doesn't go over Heiskanen. He doesn't go over Makar, Pettersson.
I think maybe he can hit. He'd be number 5 if I had to redo it. It just, I don't know yet. I mean, we've seen limited numbers from Cody Glass. Casey Middleton hasn't turned out yet. Owen Tippett hasn't touched the NHL yet. Gabe Velarde's just started touching the NHL, and he's looked pretty good.
Games? Good
Not
for
bad.
him.
Martin Nakash has looked pretty good. I don't know what's there from him yet, right? Like, there's all these players who really haven't. I think it's too early to really say anything about most of these players. below the top 5.
But what I think we can see for sure is both these defensemen are easily top 3 picks in their respective drafts.
Yes.
Besides
Yes.
going 4th and 7th, I believe. So
Yes.
it's going to be a great race. They're both 2 fantastic defensemen. But in a perfect world, I think Makar gets it because I like him more. And I won't lie to you, Alex. I won't lie to you. There's a thing with younger Habs fans like myself that when you're raised by people who are Habs fans,
Okay.
a part of you has a soft spot for the Colorado Avalanche because of a Mr. Patrick Waugh. So, and of course,
See,
who
I
doesn't
wouldn't
love
say that. If I was you, I would not think that. I'd be like, screw the Avalanche.
No, because you blame Mario Tremblay for not pulling Waugh and letting that happen. But you look at it, right?
How about the owner?
How about the owner?
Yeah.
Listen,
Blame the owner?
there's a lot of people to blame.
I mean, he did look at the owner and say, "It's my last game."
Yes, but he blew past Tremblay without saying anything.
That is true. That is true.
But anyway, so like I've always had a very soft spot for the Colorado Avalanche in my heart.
Right.
So maybe I am biased there, and of course you know me, Alex. I
do.
don't care about the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, I know.
I could care less about you. I don't care. You use your mom's credit cards, go buy a bunch of things. You know what's really funny? My mom was asking me, why did you call the episode Mom's Credit Cards? Like,
Yeah,
first of all,
I
did you
had
listen to the episode? She didn't listen to it.
I had the same question.
Yeah, from your dear mother.
Yes. Everyone was very confused.
There was a joke in there. You didn't land.
that I didn't even acknowledge. I just
No,
kind of
you
walked
didn't.
past it.
You didn't.
I didn't mean to do
I was
that.
pretty
but-
upset about it in the moment. Like, I thought that was a decent joke. But what are we going to do about it? So I asked you, who do you think will win? But are we both in agreement that we would both, if we had the choice, we'd give it to Cale Makar?
If I was part of the Professional Hockey Writers Association,
Yes.
I would pick Cale Makar number 1, Quinn Hughes number 2.
Also, Cale Makar. What a fantastic name.
Yeah, kale. You know that food.
Makar.
Makar.
Makar. Like
My
the little,
car.
like the little, I forget what they're called. Like there's these creatures in Legend of Zelda, and one of them is named Makar.
That's where obviously that's where his name came from.
Yes, his parents are huge Zelda fans,
Exactly.
and they thought, hey, let's name him a food and then a Zelda character.
But we're gonna change his first.
That's
name.
like a woodland fairy. But anyway, Alex, I thought I would the first but anyway of the episode. There's a lot going on with the Islanders here. There is
Yes.
a lot. First of all, they're saying goodbye to Brooklyn. They're going back to the Coliseum
for now.
for now.
For like 2 years, and then they're going to their new stadium.
But regular season and all, they'll be there. Playoffs, hopefully, if they get into them.
After the trade they made, they really should.
It's a good thing for them because it wasn't the same for their playoffs when they went back to Brooklyn after last year.
I really think the fact that they're in, it's the Coliseum's in New York, where I don't know where the Coliseum is.
I think it's actually in Long Island instead of Brooklyn.
Perfect. So it's exactly where they want to be.
It's where their fan base actually is.
Yeah, I think that's good because from what I heard from stingy Islanders fans, is that it's much better at the Coliseum than it is. I'm not sure what the Brooklyn arena name is, but
I believe it's the Barclays Center.
Right, the Barclays Center. I heard that the Coliseum is much better, and apparently they've upgraded some things at the Coliseum, is what I read.
That's nice.
So I'm excited that they're actually playing in one stadium now instead of a million different stadiums.
And the energy there is second. Honestly, when they get going, there are not a lot of arenas that are crazier than that, especially because they are
A rowdy bunch.
those New York kind of fans. They're not
They're
the
from
same.
New York.
They're kind of like
New York.
the rattier version of the Ranger fans,
They're
to
from
be
New
honest with you.
York.
And they take
I
that as a
can't-
compliment.
Yeah, I know.
Pajama boy.
I can't even. I don't even want to try it again. That was just
Pajama
did-
boy.
Did not look good.
My voice is high enough to imitate that girl, so we're fine. They do, though, the New York Islanders, continuing on their little page here in the Power Hour. Josh Hosang
Yeah,
is now...
has not worked out.
His relationship has basically ended with the New York Islanders. He's going to the St. Louis affiliate, which I can't remember what it was. I know it used to be the Wolves.
San Antonio.
Rampage. I believe it is the San Antonio Rampage.
Is it?
I'm 95% sure. I know they used to be with the
I'd,
Wolves.
honestly, I'd believe you.
But I think the Vegas Golden Knights took the Wolves. And I thought San Antonio was with the Avalanche.
Yeah, no, San Antonio Rampage. You're right.
Okay, it is. But anyway, this year with the Bridgeport Sound Tigers, he did good old Josh Ho-Sang Mary Lemieux fan. Had 10 points in 16 games, not terrible. And in one game with the Rampage, he already has a goal. But he requested a trade, didn't really work out. You suggested maybe there could be some connection to the Parise trade. We haven't heard anything about it. But anyway, he ended up reporting. He's played well since, and now he's going to play with the San Antonio
Yeah, it really
Rampage.
did not turn out well for Josh Ho-Sang. There's obviously issues that came out, and I think that really screwed him over.
Yeah.
And I don't think things were really getting better either. I wish things worked out for him because I can imagine it would have gone well. Like, it's not like he wasn't skilled.
No, and even he doesn't have a lot of in 53 career NHL games, 24 points. You look at 2017-18, 22 games, 12 points.
Yeah.
I don't know why he never got a complete shot there. I get your attitude. And I don't even how much do we know? The guy's 24 now. A few years ago, 22 years old.
Yeah. I think and I don't think we realized this at the time, is the fact that he went through waivers and didn't get claimed, and he's making no money. Like, I don't know. I don't think he's making that much. That has to say a lot to not only the fans, but just himself. Like, man, like, you went through waivers. You're a former first-round pick. You're only 24. I was surprised that no one took him. I wonder if they're worried about other issues. I really think a team could have taken a chance on him. There must be something else there that we don't know.
No, exactly. He is an RFA this year. He has arbitration rights, and he makes $874,000. By the way, there's nothing quite like going onto the Islanders cap-friendly page and realizing they're still paying Rick DiPietro.
Oh my God!
Exactly. So I just want to finish off.
Is that for the end of time?
I think it's like 2029 or something.
But they have zero. Oh my God! What is wrong with the salary cap in this league? Can we just, for 30 seconds, how ridiculous the salary cap is?
Sure, it's a joke.
They're paying him $0. The cap hit is $0 until 2028, 29. But the cost is $1.5 million.
Good for him, by the way.
He signed a 15-year contract.
I want his agent whenever I'm at a certain point in my life.
What is this?
Mike Milbury.
What? How? And then the best part about the salary cap is the Shea Weber deal, and there's one more deal that was just talked about, the Zach Parise deal. If he were to retire, it'd be an absolute mess. Like, there'd be like $20 million.
There's a scenario where, yeah, like $24 million.
How do you have this happen?
It wouldn't. They would.
They definitely manipulate it.
Yes.
We'll figure it out.
Which is, first of all, a joke.
Well, how about you just don't put teams in a situation like that? The reason it's like that is because of the recapture penalty.
Is there a part of you that would really actually want to see the $24 million cap penalty, because it would just be pure chaos?
I think they'd say, I don't think we're going to compete this year. I think we'd have, at that point, 31 NHL teams for the year, because we'd have 32 with Seattle.
Or you take that you take that $24 million,
and
you take it away because it's kind of like a penalty to the Preds, and then you move it to Quebec City for a discount.
So what you're saying is, because the Philadelphia Flyers sent an offer sheet to Shea Weber, and the Nashville Predators had to, or wanted to re-sign him, so they gave him the same contract.
Yes,
We're gonna put a team in Quebec City.
isn't it funny that that same player ended up becoming the captain of the Habs? It was all in the works. Is all I'm saying.
I don't think that's
Get your
I don't
tin
think
hats
I
out.
don't think that's gonna be a while till we see a team in.
Oh, I'm just
Quebec
trying to
City.
keep up blind hope.
Even though they have an arena.
So yeah,
That's the
the
funniest thing.
Videotron Center. It looks beautiful. It's right there. I've driven past it. It looks phenomenal.
I just find it a little funny that they have an arena.
Yeah.
And they're not going to give them a team.
And huge AMHL teams are playing in there.
Oh, that's pretty cool though.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the attendance is like, how much it can fill.
Oh, I'm sure they would fill it, no problem. Just, by the way, shout out to I think it's the Ramparts. They played Rimouski a few weeks ago. And then Rimouski won like 11-1.
Yeah.
Where you were telling me about it?
Alexis Lafreniere
Yeah.
had like 1 million points.
I put the game on because it was on Sportsnet and realized, oh wait, the team that Lafreniere is currently picking apart is head coached by Patrick Waugh. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's tough, man. We'll finish off the Islanders here on this extended edition of the Power Hour. Per Elliot 31 Thoughts Friedman, friend of the show, of 31 Thoughts, the podcast, the blog, and of course, Hockey Night in Canada. I said that already, didn't I? No, I didn't. Okay, the best one for last. And our friend, on the Parise deal, this is from 31 Thoughts, the blog, as well as the podcast, this mix of information here, Alex. So apparently this Parise deal, which was Sarah Valley of TSN originally reported that there was a possibility that this trade could happen, was going to be some sort of package where going to the Islanders would have been Zach Parise,
Yeah.
and somehow they were trying to also get Miku Koivu to come. Now, of course,
Yeah,
Koivu, we knew for a couple weeks, didn't want to waive his no-move clause. Apparently, Ladd was going to be one of the Islanders' assets, if you can call it, going the other way to the Wild. He also waived his no-trade.
And Kiefer Bellows, right?
And Kiefer Bellows was mysteriously called up for 8 games. 3 points in 8 games as a 21-year-old. Decent job, of course. 19th overall in 2016 was Kiefer Bellows. Another great name. So, Paul Fenton was apparently approached for this deal. Said no.
Well, I'd understand why. I mean, you look at the situation in Minnesota, and apparently, I didn't realize this, but everyone loves Zach Parise. Everyone. He is apparently the favorite player in Minnesota by the fans.
And that's why Lou loved him so much. That's why Lou was thinking of bringing him in, because apparently he just still has so much time for Parise.
Well, there's the New Jersey connection.
Yes, of course. I forgot about that because it was so long. Remember when he was a Devil?
No, I don't.
I think
Honestly.
it's a very tough situation because you either you fracture your locker room and your fan base, or you get rid of a deal that has only just hit its halfway point.
And I think the problem with Paul Fenton, or when he was GM, is that the team didn't know what direction they were going in. Right? You still didn't know. Okay, are we rebuilding? Are we tearing it down? You know, the Zuccarello signing says it all. They had no idea what they were doing. But I think now with Bill Guerin, I think there's a little more of an idea that they're willing to trade. They're willing to trade Dumba and or Brodin, obviously for the right price. They traded Jason Zucker. You know, I think there's more of an opening for a rebuild here.
Yes.
So I'm not surprised that there was more interest in the Zach Parise deal this time around than last year.
Also, I feel bad because I forgot to mention one thing that Freeman also mentioned on the podcast. A lot of this info as well comes from Mike Russo of The Athletic, who I don't think there has been a reporter in the past year and a half, or I would say like that has had a better run. As Friedman says, nothing happens in Minnesota without Mike Russo knowing it. If you're a reporter, I think you're doing a good job there. That is peak reporting right there. If someone like Elliot Friedman says that nothing happens with doing an NHL team without you knowing it. Oh, and by the way, from the Islanders' point of view, this would have been terrible if it happened. Giving up Kiefer Bellows. Parise, can get you 20 goals, but he has 6 years left. And he's old. He's very much on the wrong side of 30.
Here's the thing for me. is, I think, yeah, for sure it's bad. But from Lou's mindset is that the team is in win now mode, essentially. The team is in win now mode, and Andrew Ladd really isn't contributing anything. Really is not.
No.
And I think he has 2 more years after this left on his deal, but wouldn't you rather have someone who can contribute now when your team is in win now mode? From his perspective, that's what I'm guessing is. And also it's another player to have in the locker room that you trust, that I'm guessing has some type of asset outside of hockey as well. Outside of actually playing.
Ladd has 4 years left.
4 years left. Okay.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah, no, you're right. And they're a team that it wouldn't hurt to get some more offensive ability in there.
And I don't think giving up Kiefer Bellows, yes, it's a big deal. I don't think it's as big of a deal for them. They have Oliver Wahlstrom.
That probably helps
right?
a lot.
That definitely helps a lot. So there's your replacement for Kiefer Bellows, essentially. So I do think that it would be bad, a bad move moving forward, but I think Lou would rather have someone who has a high cap hit, but somewhat produces. And there's also the whole salary cap retention, right? Dealing with the signing bonuses and et cetera and et cetera. So there was something to be worked out there where, okay, Zach Parise has like a $7.5 million cap hit, something around there. Probably wouldn't end up around there. I imagine Minnesota would retain some type of salary.
Also, a really underrated part of this would be, if I'm making noise about the contract, is there someone in this league that's better at getting out from under terrible deals
Lou Lamoriello.
than the Godfather?
Lou Lamoriello.
Lou Lamoriello.
No one better than that.
Well, Gary, how about instead of giving me that, you give me 3 first-rounders, and Tavares comes back.
Yeah.
Because
magically, somehow.
Scott Stevens.
Somehow he comes back.
Yes.
You know what? Since you're talking about Lou, I'm interested. I'm very interested to see how he handles the Barzal negotiation.
Oh, it's probably one of the biggest storylines of the summer.
If he's not there day one of camp, he's getting traded.
You think?
For sure. That's what would have happened in Toronto. Or that's what everyone told me would happen if we had Lou instead of soft general manager Kyle Dubas. Okay? Let me lift my glasses up. Okay? Can't have this analytical mumbo jumbo.
All these numbers and such.
Too many numbers.
Alex, I think it's time for fighting to be gone for the game.
Is it my time? Is it time?
Yes.
Should I say it?
Yep.
Should I say it?
Yep.
It's science, Adam. It's science.
Science.
I can't even say it anymore. Because last week, February 25th is this tweet, the tweet of the video. Cale Casey from the Hershey Bears, I believe that is Washington's affiliate. Not entirely sure who he was fighting. Oh, I believe that looks like the Charlotte Checkers, but I'm not 100% sure. Got knocked out UFC style. Out cold on a stretcher after a fight.
Echoes of when I believe it was a Montreal-Toronto game when at the time he was a Hab. I believe it was his last professional year. Current head of player safety, George Peros, got into a fight. And he fell back, hit his head off the ice, and there was just this picture of him. And he's out of it.
Yeah.
Cooley doesn't know where he is.
Who is he fighting? Is it Colton Orr?
I don't know. I'll try and find it, but it's...
Isn't that concerning at all? Like this is to the people out there who watch hockey for the fighting, because I know there's people out there who do that for sure. There's people who watch it for the fighting and for the big hits.
It was Colton Orr, by the way.
It was Colton Orr. Thank you. How do you sit there? Okay, Adam, I'm gonna ask you a question. What is the point? What's the goal of hockey?
To score goals and win.
To get pucks deep, put pucks in the net.
Cycle
Right,
around,
cycle the puck.
4 lines, 3 pairing, help out your
Okay.
goaltender.
So there's no. When you say that, I don't hear anything about. I understand hitting. Listen. I'm not Mister. Oh no hitting. I'm fine with hitting. I just don't like hits to the head. There's science. Again, it's science. I'm against fighting in hockey when it turns out like this. Listen, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I don't watch UFC. I watch UFC. There's just people beating the crap out of each other,
Knocking each other out with kicks.
Right. It's definitely not healthy, but they signed up for it.
Yes.
They signed up for it. When you play hockey, I don't believe you're signing up to beat the crap out of each other. I believe that's a different sport.
Yeah.
It's called mixed martial arts and boxing.
You know when I know that you're about to really get into something here?
Tell me.
If you look at the table and I look at your water bottle, and it's like in that scene in Jurassic Park when the T-Rex comes, boom, the
Like,
water.
isn't that an issue?
Your water bottle is shaking. No, it is.
It's a major issue.
It's at the point where I think we forgot about that. We made a big deal of as we should have, about the Cassian, kicking thing, blade on your foot, right? But at the same time, you're not only are you fighting, you're fighting on ice. Like that's not bad enough.
That's another thing.
One bad slip, Alex, and
like that's a hard surface.
It is.
That's a hard surface. And the thing for me is I look at the next generation of people. Like last night was the last game that was like the Leafs next gen game. They have these next generation games. And a lot of the advertisement is obviously towards kids. And they have the videos on the Jumbotron, and usually they obviously have the history, so they show like Ty Domi, they show Wendell Clark hitting, but this one is very different. The one they showed last night was very different, and it really proves to me what the next generation of fans are looking for. And I understand, they talk about it on Hockey Central all the time. It's obviously it's all about the details. But it's all about the details. But there's a difference between it's all about the details and it's all about beating the crap out of each other. They're promoting the next generation. They're very much promoting skill over fighting, and I think it's like it finally caught up to the NHL. When you watch highlights of NFL, like they're promoting it. Maybe a couple times I see a major hit. Most of it are insane catches or throws 100 yards or whatever.
Trick plays and all that.
Yeah. NBA, dunks, crazy passes, whatever. Like
ankle breakers.
Right. So it's not like taking a shot, like not taking a foul, like whatever it's called. Name's not coming to me right now. Like the other sports have finally caught up to it. And they're finally catching up to the other sports in how they need to produce the next generation of fans.
The only physical highlight I can really remember seeing on highlight hit, plays of the week and all that, is probably when, Dustin Byfuglien is manhandling 2 people, but he's not punching them in the face. He's literally just dragging 2 grown men across the ice out of a scrum.
Right.
Which is incredible.
Right, but that's different. Like, for me, I don't want to sit there and watch people beat the crap out of each other to the point that when one guy falls, he hits his head on the ice and that's it.
Yeah.
Like that brain, again, it's science. It's brain damage.
It's I wonder how far away we are.
Well, they were talking about it on Steve on the SDP. They're talking about it, that they're going backwards, and they said, okay, this is what we want the game to be, but now they're all these lack of suspensions or suspensions that aren't being given properly. It feels like they're going back to what. They're not going back to the 2000s or the 90s, but they're going backwards in the direction of, okay, we're going to allow this, this, and this, even though science tells us this, this, and this are bad.
Cross-check to the face to someone who's a foot shorter than you, elbows, and all that kind of stuff. It's science. It's injuries, and they're just not doing anything about it. But we'll talk about, I guess, one last injury really on the front here, and that's Steven Stamkos, Tampa Bay Lightning. He will be out for, I believe it was 8 weeks, and the way Chris Johnston said it on headlines the other day was he'll be out till the end of the first round in a best case scenario. A surgery for a key muscle, chest muscle or something like that. Now, Steven and Stamkos has been healthy for the past few years.
Yeah.
And he was sitting out games apparently about this. So he was playing through it for a bit, and then he sat out, which, thank God, we don't see that very often.
That's true. You make a good point.
Now, it looks more and more likely that Tampa are going to play Toronto in the first round, right?
Yeah.
Wow. It was 1-0 because we have the Rangers Philly game on. I remember right away Philly made it 1-0. I just saw Alex, like, his jaw dropped. I turned around. It's 4-0 Flyers. Henrik Lundqvist, the poor man, is in net. My dear God. 14 goals, 14 shots, 4 goals against. Oh my dear God. Anyway, though, it looks more and more likely that it will be a Tampa-Toronto first round.
Yeah, which is scary enough.
Now, I want you to think about, is it really that big a blow for them to lose Steven Stamkos?
No. They literally just brought in two, what for them are depth players in Blake Coleman and Barclay Goodrow. Those, obviously, we talked about those moves are essentially for next year when they have to get rid of a couple players.
Yes.
This move literally does nothing. Like, they're still a crazy team. I wouldn't be surprised, even with this injury, if they, I don't know if they can pass Boston, because Boston's kind of really pushing it. At this point, they are 7 points ahead with a game in hand, with Tampa has a game in hand.
Damn, that happened quick.
Yeah.
Remember when we were, like, just 2 points behind? God, Boston are brutal, right? Like, in a good way.
Yeah.
But, hey, Steven Stamkos.
I don't think it has that much of an impact, and that's what the scary part is that they are going to still dominate.
A last note, best recoveries to, best wishes to Steven Stamkos. Come back, buddy. You've been healthy the past couple of years, and you love to see it, right? Finally, we'll finish the Power Hour off with this, Alex. The GM meetings, we've got one coming up, and it looks like, again, from Saturday Headline talking about Canada, on the docket, we seem to have the E-Bug, the emergency backup goalie, some more talks on that, offsides, and salary cap projections.
Okay, can we save E-Bug to the end? Because I kind of want to know your thoughts, because we never really talked about the whole situation. So what did they say about the salary cap? Because I actually haven't seen.
They literally just pointed out, they're going to talk about E-Bug, offsides.
Oh, they didn't okay, that's fine.
Then they said for offsides, they said making the blue line more of a plane. In the whole thing
up.
of
I understand.
Yes,
I don't know why that wasn't the case before.
Yes,
but.
And salary cap. All they literally said was salary cap projections, and that was it.
Awesome. Okay, so there has been a whole lot of talk about the E-Bug situation, right? We know Brian Burke doesn't really. There was a lot of people hating on him because.
Can I say one thing before we get into too much of the E-Bug stuff?
Okay.
I've seen people starting to say that it's getting out of hand, like when he put his stick into the Hall of Fame. Because I don't think hockey fans... I was thinking about this last night. Hockey fans aren't used to a story that's bigger than the NHL because the NHL is so small. Like, this guy was on Colbert.
Yeah, I know.
This guy is on late-night talk shows in the States. That's how big this story is. It's bigger than the league itself. Right. So I just want people to simmer down. I get, like, you're seeing it. Because it's a big story. Because, of course, you're going to see it every time you go on Twitter and that. But this is literally bigger than the sport itself, people. We need this in the game. More exposure.
Right. Okay. But I thought he was in the first E-Bot, or I guess
He's not, but they're
Jeff
crediting
Merrick?
him to him.
Yeah.
It's actually it was a guy.
It was Montreal against Toronto.
And it was a Toronto guy
I don't
who had to
remember
go
his
in
name.
for the Habs.
They talked about like 3 times on Hockey Central, and then once on 31 Thoughts.
See, let me guess. Jeff Merrick brought it up
Twice.
You know what's hilarious? Because I, of course, after trade deadline, took a break from hockey.
Yeah.
I listened to 31 Thoughts, and I was thinking to myself, God, Merrick, I
He's
guarantee he brought this up on Hockey Central.
Twice.
I'll find the guy's name. But yeah, go on what you were going to say about the e-bug stuff.
For me, it's okay. I understand where Burke is coming from, right? Do you know what Brian Burke said?
Did he say it was an embarrassment to the game or something?
Mm-hmm. I understand his side from it. At the same time, I understand the story. The story is great. I don't think anyone's down. Here's the thing. I think a lot of people are misunderstanding is the story is great. I think both of us can agree that the story is great. Absolutely phenomenal, right?
Yes.
But the fact that, for me, it's concerning because it's Carolina and Toronto. The 2 points are very important. And imagine if it went the other way.
That does make sense because then the story becomes a Leafs employee gets shelled and the Leafs get 2 massive points
Right.
in.
And it's a completely different story.
Correct.
So, imagine even if it wasn't a Toronto employee. It's just Scott Foster. Scott Foster played 2 periods.
Was
And-
it even that much? Oh, no, sorry, you're saying...
I'm
No, sorry,
imagining- I'm
yeah.
saying it doesn't necessarily have to be a Toronto guy. The story is great. The story in Toronto, the story is a Toronto guy went in that. But I think the story outside of Toronto is that an emergency backup goalie won a game. In the U.S., for sure. Is it not concerning for you that they don't have a better system in place for them? I'm asking you. I get the story's great.
Yeah.
But if Montreal was in the same situation and you guys missed by 2 points
I'd
or
be
by a
infuriated.
point, right,
I would quit the show.
right.
No,
So
it is.
I get the story's great, but at the same time, you have to look at the game like this can't happen again.
You know, it's interesting because, of course, before this became an issue, it wasn't one, and we've never thought about it before. Because, let's be
Right.
honest, Scott Foster was fun, but, again, it was the Jets and the Blackhawks.
And he played like 5-10 minutes.
Yes, he did make saves, but it wasn't that big of a deal. Like, the Blackhawks were clearly out of it. The Jets were the only team in the Central that were actually, set to make a spot at that point. Sure, they were the Central was just so set, those top 3 teams of the thing. Like, the Jets were fine, they were making it. And then, of course, in the mecca of hockey world, of the hockey news that happened in Toronto happened. And the situation, sorry, I'm saying it a lot, but it happened, yeah. So there does need to be a much better system in place.
Okay.
100%. Go get a Ryerson goalie.
So apparently there was they
Second round curse,
have
by the
a Ryerson, UFT, and York goalie.
You just need the Ryerson one.
On roster.
You
Not
just
on
need the
roster.
Ryerson
Yeah,
one.
of course.
You just need,
But apparently they were 2 of them were in playoff games, and the York one was unavailable. I think something like that.
I think the Ryerson one's available now because I think they lost in the second round again.
I'm honestly not entirely sure.
I think Daniel wrote it, like the second year curse got them again. Or was it Donald? It was one of them.
One of them.
Someone wrote a story about how Ryerson I think lost in the
Someone
second round or
we
something.
know wrote a story.
Yeah. But
Okay.
by the way, Daniel is going to be big, in my
Daniel's
opinion.
gonna hit it big.
He's going to be big. You know when you know for a fact someone's going to be big is how we never see Daniel because he's always so busy. Just a quick
That's
thing.
true.
Like Daniel's going to be I hope he's listening to this episode. Like he's going to be big one day.
He's going to be big.
He's going to be famous. I just best of luck to
And
Daniel.
we know a famous person.
Yeah, we know a bunch of famous people.
A couple.
Yeah.
A
You
few
saw
here,
someone
yeah.
famous at the game last night, didn't
Yeah,
you?
it was so funny. Should I
Tell us what happened, Alex.
Okay, so I went to the Leafs game. I went to the Leafs game last night, and
Against the Canucks, right?
Against the Canucks. And I was had my hot dog, getting some ketchup on it. I was with my dad. And then I kind of look over to the elevator because, the doors open, it makes that sound, and my head just turns. And I'm like, I recognize this guy. I'm like, I know this guy from somewhere. Like, don't know where he's from. And then we made eye contact, and I kind of clued in on who he was. and it was Justin, I think Cuthbert from Yahoo Sports. And I kind of like just looked at him, and then the doors closed.
Now, of course,
But I gave him the look that, man, you don't know me, but you do know my voice.
and for those of you who missed our last episode, of course, or was it the episode before that, Alex?
Wow.
You, of course, got a clip onto is it Lease Laugh Live?
Live, live, laugh, leaves, or
Yes.
live, laugh, leaves. I don't know.
And
Whatever.
Mr. Cuthbert actually said that you had they gave you comments saying you were very good, you were level-headed, you made a lot of sense.
I was somehow level-headed,
Yeah.
but when I came on the episode the next day,
You were really hot last episode, by the way. The last 2 episodes, you were hot.
well, I'm sorry, when your team loses to a backup goalie, what do you? Not even a backup goalie.
Someone
An
who
emergency
he
backup
works
goalie.
at our university.
He works at Ryerson,
Which is incredible.
Which someone had to remind me again.
Gary
on Monday.
Gold brings it up, and I could feel the heat coming off of Alex. He was so mad.
I want to hear it. I get it. I get it. I
Backup
get it.
goalie.
Okay, emergency backup.
Emergency
goalie.
backup
I get
goalie.
it. I understand.
Anyway, do you have a read of the bye week?
I do, and it's funnily enough, it's about David Ayers. Well, more about his wife. It's from The Athletic. It is by Sean Shapiro. Free beers and screaming at strangers. Sarah Ayres' life with husband's new fame.
Oh, so I love. She was on 31 Thoughts,
Yes, she
newest
was.
episode, and she was a fantastic guest. I love
Okay,
her.
you just took out a notepad and are about to start a timer. I really don't want to know what's about to happen.
It's time for a pop
I
quiz.
swear, is it about Star Wars? I don't know.
I was gonna make it another Star Wars quiz, but okay, Alex.
You do this to me every time, and you know I don't know Star Wars that well.
So I'm gonna put a 3-minute timer on, and you're
3
going
minutes?
to. I'm going to
Are
give
you-
you an essay question. To
No,
write.
I'm not writing an essay. I just wrote an essay.
You have. So did I, sir. I have another midterm this week, by the way. The
Okay, just tell me
Thursday.
what. Yeah, can I just say it out loud?
So you
What's
have
the-
3 minutes.
Are you gonna talk during those 3 minutes?
I'm going to tell a story in these 3 minutes. Alex, you have 3 minutes. And your question is, Alex, what is your favorite thing about me?
Yeah, I'm not doing this on the podcast.
All right, 3.
I put the
2.
notepad to the side. We're gonna continue. That's not a pop quiz.
You know what, Alex?
That was a very bad.
I'm sure
pop quiz.
Daniel would say something.
Okay.
He
Well,
immediately shut down the pop quiz.
Because it's not a quiz. It's an essay.
Yeah.
I'm not writing an essay.
You ever had short answer?
Yeah, but that's not short. Yeah, short answer and essays are not the same. Short answers are like 4 or 5 sentences, maybe. Essay is about 3 or 4 paragraphs.
The biggest news out the
Oh,
weekend, in my
thank you.
opinion, was from the New Jersey Devils.
Yes.
And, well, sorry, not from New Jersey, from headlines on the New Jersey Devils. Despite the good job that Scott Fitzgerald has done. Tom! All right, hold on a minute. I'm looking up who Scott Fitzgerald is because I keep saying
I don't even
his
know
name.
who that is.
Scott Fitzgerald.
It sounds familiar, but
Scott Fitzgerald. Francis Scott Key Fitzgerald was an American writer. His novels depicted the flamboyance and access of the Jazz Age.
yeah, you definitely don't know. You just kind of threw that name together.
I swear, like, maybe I've read something of his before. Maybe from an English
The
class.
Great Gatsby? Is that what you read?
Oh, I have not read The Great Gatsby,
Then
but
I don't know what you've read.
I mean, hey, anyway, we'll continue though. So, from headlines, New Jersey Devils, despite the great job that Tom Fitzgerald has done as interim GM, they're still looking to to bring in a new general manager to replace Ray Shiro. And so far, we know that the first external candidate that they have actually went and interviewed, they will continue to do this over the summer, by the way, but first person they've externally interviewed is Mike Gillis. Funny enough, it was Friedman who reported this on headlines,
Yeah.
who, of course, as we know, has apparently a close relationship with Mike Gillis.
Does he? I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, Freeman's got crap for it before. It's the weirdest thing. Everyone just forgets about Mike, that Elliot Freeman is a legitimate, one of the best reporters in the business, but they're like, oh, Mike Gillis, because he's such a controversial figure.
Do you know who he is? He is the uncle of a professional hockey player. Could you tell me who that professional hockey player is?
Can you tell me what team?
The New York Islanders.
Ooh, he's an uncle of someone on the island. What position?
No, I can't tell you that.
They don't have a Gillis on their team, do they? Eberle.
No.
Who?
Adam Pelech.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Ah, small world. Shows how your game isn't growing, that it's the same family bloodlines. But anyway, of course, this guy, Mike Gillis, for those of you that don't know, was a big part of those old Vancouver teams. A controversial figure. Apparently he has been traveling around the world researching sports management. And I guess kind of finding himself. And I guess we've heard his name a little bit more over the past few years. So I wonder, and we'll talk about maybe some other people that could possibly take the job. What are your thoughts on Mike Gillis?
I think it's an interesting route to go. I think there's a couple candidates that I would have rather than choose or potentially choose. Number one is, why don't you just keep Tom Fitzgerald? Like, I think the work he's done so far, if you want to look at it that way, he's traded Wayne Simmons,
Yeah, somehow.
traded Sammy Vatanen,
Great return. Even though he was hurt. You don't see that very often. Blake Coleman. More than Shiro got for Taylor Hall.
controversial, but sure,
Fact.
questionable.
Sure. But he's been good.
I think it's something they should look at. Another name, how about Martin Brodeur?
Apparently he doesn't want it though.
Okay, if he does want it, that's a guy I would look at. You know, he spent time in St. Louis, I believe, in upper management.
Yeah, for a bit.
Moved to New Jersey in upper management. I think that's a route they might want to go. It's also a Devils legend.
You know what worries me about Brodeur though?
Tell me.
He's done work with Hockey Canada. And those guys, it's a boys' club.
I know.
Bill Peters is a Hockey Canada guy. Mike Babcock, a Hockey Canada guy.
But are they part of the same group of people is the question.
They're a very tight-knit group. They're notorious for that.
I know, but at some point, you look at Martin Brodeur and say, okay, he's a Devils legend.
Yeah.
That would look very good.
I'd rather see him behind the office than in more enterprise commercials.
That is true.
Those are brutal. Oh, I agree, by the way, with Brian Burke saying that the cup should never be in a commercial. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
100%. Do you have any other names, potentially, for the Devils GM?
I had one as a joke because they picked a Vancouver guy, but I can say it if you want.
Yeah, I would love...
Dave Notice.
I almost put him on my list of guys, but thought, yeah, no. That
I don't have any other names.
No? Then I'll read you mine, because I have quite a few.
Okay.
Just because I would be amazed if this guy is still where he is come the summertime. Jason Botterill of the Buffalo Sabres.
Okay. I see where you're going. I don't know if that's the route they're going to go. Simply because he was put in a position to rebuild the team and really has not done the greatest of jobs.
Also, I think a big thing we should try and remember talking about all this is the Devils seem like an organization kind of like Carolina, that it won't be one guy, but it will be a committee.
In what way?
That I don't. It sounds like Shiro closed himself off at the end. We've heard from people like Friedman and Merrick on 31 Thoughts, and who is the analytics guy that they hired?
Oh boy.
It's on the tip of my tongue. Of course, he's a beauty.
I'll get it.
Merrick loves talking.
Tyler Dello.
Tyler Dello. You've got Tyler Dello, the weird relationship the analytics department seems to have with the Devils going directly to the owner. Sounds like the owner kind of likes to be involved. Sounds exactly like Carolina. I think a big part will have to be a guy who is able to talk, communicate. I think that's a big part of this. My second name, and we're going to talk about this guy a little later. Mark Bergevin.
Wow. I did
See,
not think you were going to say that.
We're going to talk about a big interview with him. And in this big interview he had members of the Canadians, like, public relation and law. Like, the Canadians, like, media team, like, head of that, and the head of their legal department with him for an interview. So I see that, I'm like, oh dear. It's that serious now, are we?
Oh, Lord.
So I think, I don't know. I'm watching out for Mark Bergevin. I think he's a contradiction to what I just said about being open. Bergevin strikes me as a very... Bergevin used to be very friendly, and then he grew his beard out, and it's like, oh crap. He's terrifying.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
How about...
Brian Burke.
I don't know why I put Ray Shero on this list.
How about Brian Burke?
No. I didn't know. I have Dale Talon of Florida because I think how long can he continue to have a chance in Florida? Because in the same year you give $70 million to a goaltender, all of a sudden they want to cut salary. I don't imagine that Dale Talon will be around there much longer.
I wonder. I like the idea. I wonder if Florida pushes the button on getting rid of Dale Talon, because what does that do? And he's a great coach, but what does that do with Joel Quenneville?
That's
you
true.
You bring your guy in. Dale Talon brings his guy in first year, and you fire the general manager.
It's not first year.
Joe Quenneville.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant Talon. No, Talon's been there for ages.
No, I know. Joe Quenneville, this is his first year.
Yes.
Right? What does that mean for him? Because general managers always like to bring in their own coach.
I think it's different with Quenneville because it's Joel Quenneville. Isn't he the second winningest coach in history?
I'm not entirely sure. I can find out.
And he has 3 cups. I think that just speaks for itself more about Quenneville. I think it's different from, let's say, a Bruce Boudreau who somehow survived up to his 3rd GM in that. So
that's second most wins.
Second most wins. How far is he behind Bowman?
I'll tell you. Give me 30 seconds.
But it's just it's funny to me that I say it's not funny. I just think it's a different situation.
321 games.
320 behind Scotty Bowman.
Yeah.
That's incredible. How about this is a guy we always hear about, L.A. Mike Fuda. For a guy who I hear his name a lot, I know nothing about this dude.
Neither do I.
But you look at what L.A. has done with their farm system, the draft picks, all that. I think Mike Fuda would be a nice little addition.
I don't mind that.
How about we're
Mark
watching them play?
How about Mark Hunter? I'm just throwing names.
I thought of Mark Hunter. I'm like, no. How about we're
That's
watching?
That's why he's in an NHL GM, right?
No, he's not. Go back to London.
Sorry, I forgot.
Go back to
That's
London where you're
been telling me.
where you're illegally drafting teenagers in the OHL.
I forgot.
Allegedly.
Everyone's been telling me that he's an NHL GM. I must have been mistaken.
How about we're watching his old team play right now? Imagine if you didn't have, instead of a meddling owner, understanding one, a group committee. Ron Hextall. You don't have a pushy ownership like New Jersey doesn't seem like it has a terrible ownership, but they're involved. And Ron Hextall.
I don't mind that.
You don't?
I don't mind that at all. I think Ron Hextall's only issue in Philadelphia was that he didn't bring up Carter Hart. Other than that, I have no issues with what he did.
So we talk about
I don't think I do.
a partnership. This is a guy who has stepped aside as a GM and has worked closely with Vegas and Kelly McCrimmon. And if Vegas were to win this year, what if George McPhee got another shot at starting another team?
I don't think so. I think he stays in Vegas.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't see why he would want to move.
My last name then. And I think I've gone outside the box for this. And I think for New Jersey to pull this off, they need to fork out the cash. Because the team you're trying to take this guy from is going to match your offer no matter what.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Former member of the Canucks and the Arizona Coyotes,
okay.
Lawrence Gilman.
Oh, I think it really goes with the, you bring in Tyler Dello. I think it kind of goes that way. What he's doing with Dubas. I don't know if Gilman is the one, if he runs the AHL team, or if that's Brandon Pridham. But I like that move either way. I don't think it's gonna happen because Toronto's just gonna throw ridiculous money at it.
That's the thing. New Jersey have to be willing to fork out the cash for it.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
It is. A lot of those guys we just mentioned were previous GMs, but Gilman
is the general manager of the Marlies.
And for anyone saying what are the Marlies, they just lost everything. They lost their head coach and all their players.
That is right. You say that, and I guess maybe we'll bring it up in the next part when we talk about Toronto. But I think that's a thing that a lot of people aren't talking about. Is the Marlies aren't doing as well as they have been, but think about over the last 2 years, they've literally lost everyone.
Yeah. But hey, New Jersey, Lawrence Gilman. I think even if, like you, maybe not going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were whispers.
Oh, for sure.
Because, of course, I think there's obviously the attractiveness of Toronto, but remember when Colorado were poking at Dubas? It sounds like Dubas, if Lou had given him permission, there's a legit chance that he could have gone, because what people need to remember is it's still a job.
Let's
but then
just
again,
be clear, it wasn't Lou making that decision. It's very clearly that it was Brendan Shanahan making that decision. I'm just mentioning it.
Okay, then that's my mistake.
No, it's fine.
But at the same time, it's, hello, I'm Toronto. Would you like $20 million?
Right.
You see, the Raptors just wanted a deep playoff run.
Else.
So MNSC has a few extra $1 million to throw around.
Exactly.
Are we good with the New Jersey side of things?
Sure. Shall we just get to Toronto? Because I don't have a lot to talk
You don't have a lot? All right, good, because there's a lot of Marc Bergevin that we can pick apart here.
Okay, so Wednesday, we didn't really talk a whole lot because I wasn't in a good mood. But let's talk about, it's been a week since, or just over a week since the Leafs lost to a backup goalie.
Ryerson
Zone, David Ayres.
David, great guy.
They're since gone 3-0.
Are you surprised by that?
No.
I'm not.
No. They are still missing Riley. Now, since I believe they played Tampa on Tuesday, Muzzin is now out 4 weeks.
I forgot that. How did we What's happened?
Muzzin is out 4 weeks. So they have pretty much more than half of their AHL Calder Cup winning roster. Defense core, sorry. That's very concerning in so many ways. I'm
sorry. I didn't know when to mention this.
Martin Marincin scored a freaking
You knew
goal
where I was
last
going.
night. Martin Marincin.
Magic hand Marty. Was it the game winner?
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I haven't watched it. I'm going to find it right now.
He looks so surprised.
I did. I mean, I was surprised when you texted me and told. I didn't believe it. Like, Martin Marincin did not score.
So there's been a couple. As you're looking for the video, I may continue talking. There's been a couple players who have really stood out. One being Zach Hyman, obviously.
I want to apologize to him because I called him the poor man's Brendan Gallagher, but that's a good player.
He's good. I don't know how far away he is from Brendan Gallagher. I don't think he puts up the same amount of points as Brendan Gallagher, but they have a very similar style.
He's a dick to play against.
Yeah.
And he works hard.
Yeah. Mike Babcock, I guess, was right for the last 4 years. One thing he was right about. Do you have the goal up? Are you watching?
I've got the highlights.
Okay, so another player's obviously, I think the last 3 games, well, more than the last 3 games, but Austin Matthews has looked really good. Like, I think his two-way play has improved since Keefe has come in. I can tell you by your face that you just saw the goal. Do you see his face?
So Marty's like leading the rush here.
For some
There's
reason,
3 Hurricanes. Gets his own. I don't know what was Demko doing. Yeah, he goes what?
He's like, what did I just do?
Everyone's so surprised. There's some guy wearing a Tavares jersey. He's shocked. He didn't believe it happened. First of all, why did he go?
I don't know. He said, "Screw it."
Where was Markstrom? What was Markstrom doing there?
Markstrom, it's Demko.
Markstrom's
injured.
Yeah. First of all, yeah. Oh, it went off the post. That's why he was just. Oh, that's tough. You'd like to have, and that was the game winner.
Yes.
Good for him. Matthews has been good.
Matthews has been good. One player that they really need to send down, and it really sucks, is Timothy Liljegren. It's not worth playing him 5, 6, 7 minutes a night. I'd rather, and I get now you're kind of in a pinch here because you don't have Muzzin and you don't have Riley. You're playing Calle Rosen. Why don't you bring someone, like, there has to be someone in the AHL that can kind of just be a stopgap, and like you have to play. I think it would be very important that Liljegren plays 20 minutes, 25 minutes a night for the Marlies and leads them for that last stretch of the season, even if they don't make the playoffs.
And people need to remember, because this is Toronto, he's going to get more attention. Timothy Liljegren in April will only turn 21 years old.
I know, and it feels like it's been forever.
Yeah.
It feels like it's been forever.
Another member of that very strange 2017 draft where he was supposed to be very high and then had mono.
Yeah. And it really just hasn't gone the way that I think a lot of Leaf fans are hoping for, because what happened is he was supposed to go top 5.
Mm-hmm.
He got mono, and Leafs picked him at 17, I think.
Yes.
So everyone's like, oh man, we just got a top 5 pick at number 17 because he had mono. But it really didn't go that way.
I just realized he was born the same year as me.
Yeah.
Oh, Alex, I'm old. Only a year older than you.
Yeah. And that's one guy I think you want. Why don't you send to the AHL? The whole contract thing really isn't that big of a deal for him because his contract's already kicked in. So play him in the AHL. Hopefully, and I think this will be the case, next year it's going to be a little bit easier to ease him into the Leafs bottom pairing, because I think you'll have more of a structure in who the hell is going to play on this team.
You
Right.
also won't have the season-ending rush for the playoffs that the Leafs are having now.
Right.
A full season under Keefe, hopefully.
Not even just a full season, just a full training camp. That's it. If the team had the full training camp, I think it'd be a very different story.
And next year's Leafs are going to be
Better.
looking at
Hopefully.
the summer. What do the Leafs do?
Okay, so here's my thing. Remember last couple episodes, I've been saying this team is fooling us.
Yes,
I'm still on that bandwagon.
they're a playoff team, but
barely,
are they a contender?
barely a playoff team right now. The last 3 games, last night do you know what their problem is? Is they give the puck up so much. There's so many turnovers that can be avoided. The defensive end of the game is still a concern, is still a problem. Is still a problem for this team. But the difference the last 3 games is that they look like they care. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that my opinion has changed. They have to prove it to me. I mean, the next 3 games are in California, so they're late games this week.
Will you be watching? Do you have any more midterms?
No,
So-
but I have a lot of assignments
So-
stuff to get done.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to watch it. Like, I'm going to watch the Thursday night game because I don't have class on Friday. I don't think I'm going to watch Tuesday's game because I have class in the morning on Wednesday. And I'll try to watch Friday's game. So I'm going to try to get at least 2 of them. I'd like this team to continue looking like they care. Because 3 games, I'm sorry, is not proving it to me. 3 games is a minimum. You have to prove to me that you care. And it's not just it's not a hobby. Like, this is your job. And another thing with this team is that it's for them. It looks like every single thing has to be perfect. It doesn't.
That extra pass highlight reel.
I saw it so much last night. And I saw there was like 3 opportunities for Marner to shoot, and he didn't shoot. He passed. And then he shot once, and the guy behind me said, man, Marner should have passed. I'm like, bro, I can't do this anymore.
But he passes enough. Let him take a shot.
Yeah, like, I get it. He puts him. The thing with someone like Marner is he puts himself in positions to shoot because all the players know that he's going to pass.
And then like you get surprised. What game was it that went to OT? Maybe Ottawa, where he got the one-timer? Or was that...
No, he had a full open lane.
Was it Anaheim then? Or there was a game, was it when he everyone thought he was going to pass and he just one-timed.
Oh, you're right.
Scored.
It was Anaheim because you texted me saying Tavares is going to score an OT.
Because he was on a mission.
Yeah.
That stretch of games, he was on a mission, that man.
That's the thing. The rest of the season, every single player on this team needs to be on a mission because
So for those of you who don't know, my water bottle is leaking.
Oh.
So it's like leaked all over me. If you ever have like Alex randomly laugh, it's because of that. And I have like tissues around it, and the hole of where the water is leaking is getting bigger and bigger. And it's very difficult to do this podcast for an hour and a half without drinking water. So
the thing with this team is that I want every single player to look like they're on a mission. I want Matthews and Tavares to look like they're on a mission to score 50 goals. I want Kapanen and Hyman. You don't have to get pucks deep. I just want you to look. You want to get the puck and you want to get it to someone else, right? Like look like you have a job to do. Look like your life depends on it. Because obviously before these 3 games, it did not look like that at all. That's why the 3 games are great, but I've seen this before, and I can't keep sitting. Okay, at the end of the day, this is my team. Like it's not like they can do anything to change that.
I can see 4 different things of Leafs, 5 different things of Leafs.
And this is just the
in front of
start.
me.
You should see my room.
In your basement. I see a jersey, a water bottle, a picture, a little statue thing, and a puck.
And the
all
coins.
Leafs. And the coins? Oh, true, 6 things. 6 things of Leafs things in your basement.
I'm criticizing the team because I love them.
Yes.
Right? You criticize Montreal because you love them.
I defend them at points I shouldn't because I love them.
Right, exactly. I defend Nylander because I love him.
And he's actually good.
And he's actually good.
He's clutch.
These 3 games are great. It proves they weren't perfect games. By far, they were not perfect games at all. Last night, 1 million turnovers. Thursday was they started poorly, and it got better. Freddie wasn't on his game. Tuesday, I thought they played okay. I don't think I got to watch the entire game, but I think they played okay. I know for a fact that they can have a very good, perfect game because I've seen it before. All I want is that they play a good game because even if they play a good game, they can beat most of the teams in the league.
Yes.
And they need to turn it on at certain points. And I feel like they lack that sometimes. That's the problem for me. And so going back to your question about the summer, because I feel like I've avoided it.
Yes.
If they make the playoffs and collapse, like David Aries is in net collapse, someone big has to be traded because it sends a message. Not because they need to be traded. I think the team is still a little bit immature. It seems like they don't understand the consequences. I think the message needs to be sent. And it can't be a Janssen, Kapanen, or Kerfoot that's going to be traded. I think it needs to be someone with a little bigger payday.
Mm-hmm.
And that would probably happen after July 1st because the bonuses.
So Nylander Dumba is going to happen.
I don't know. I still don't think Dumba's the right fit for this team, but that's fine.
Well, I really hope Nylander doesn't get dealt.
Neither do I. I don't think Dubas wants to move Nylander.
We can and we will.
But if this team, let's say, wins the first round and loses against Boston, they look like they care. You know, they get to Game 7 or whatever, and something happens. Bad luck. I don't know. Then you work with the team that you have because you know that this team can be consistent. And if you start next year playing like that whatever crap again, you trade someone.
Yes.
So I think at this point their forward core
is pretty set for the most part. Like, I think Spezza is going to come back. I think Mikheyev will probably come back. There's players that will come back. Maybe you see a couple additions from the Marlies, and then the Marlies will essentially get replenished with whoever. What needs to be restructured is the defense, because right now you have Riley, Sandin, Muzzin, and Liljegren, and Hall. That's your 5D next year. You still have to re-sign Dermott, which
if you want
if
to.
you re-sign Dermott, you could potentially package him in a trade with someone. I don't know because right now, I don't know what they do with the top pair with Riley. Because Muzzin plays with Hall, which has looked good at points in the season. It's been a little messy late since he got the contract. And your bottom pairing is essentially Sandin and Liljegren. I think they've looked good together at points. I think the way Sandin is developing, hopefully by the beginning of next year, he can play as a sixth defenseman. Now, who do you play with Riley? Someone who can play defense, hopefully. Somewhat. And I don't think Dumba's that guy.
I know he's not a righty, but Jonas Brodin is one of those few guys we hear about that is a real defenseman.
If he is willing to play on the right, because I know Riley isn't, or isn't good at it. If he can play on the right, I'm more than happy to bring him in. I wouldn't be surprised if they make some money move and they bring in a defenseman in free agency. Obviously not Alex Pietrangelo. For me, I look at someone like Travis Hamonic, who can play defense.
Carl Olsner is available.
No. If he can please stop suggesting that to me. If he doesn't re-sign with Calgary, I think that's a potential move you look at, or a TJ Brody if you can afford it. But I think moving forward, I think that's kind of the summer I look for them to have.
You know who I think has a bright future?
Cole Caulfield.
I was just going to say Pierre Engvall because I really
okay.
like that player. But Cole Caulfield.
Yeah.
So Mark Bergevin, first round trade deadline, he did a 40-minute press conference. And he was very flustered. So then later on, he does an interview.
Question.
Yes.
Did he say his famous 2 lines?
Oh my God. We'll get to it. And then he sat down with Matthias Brunet of La Presse and this was before the Rangers game last week. And one of the big parts of this article, he talks about first coming to Montreal, his tenure with the team, what he calls the first act of his career here.
The first 5-year plan?
Yeah, which is just infuriating to him, and how he is going to stay faithful to his plan. And yes, there is a part of this article where he does say, listen to this. Quote, this is all translated, by the way. Despite his desire to keep the team competitive, he never traded a first-round pick or top hopes for a faster result. Quote, I will not make a short-term decision to look good and hurt the team in the long term. Maybe it will cost me my job, but I have too much respect for the organization, end quote.
Okay, can you just humor me here?
Yeah.
What year did Mark Bergevin... What year was he brought into the into the Canadiens?
That is an awesome question because I have no idea.
Oh, was it?
It
Sorry.
was 8 years ago.
Was it 2012? Sorry, because Galchenyuk.
Yes.
Okay,
because,
so
yes.
he talked about he hasn't given up a first round pick for whatever.
Oh, yeah, I don't think he's ever traded the first. A first round draft pick, not a player drafted in the first.
Yeah. So shall we talk about who he's drafted since 2012 because he's so proud of it? If you don't mind, I'm just going to go through it. 2012, Alex Galchenyuk.
First of all, he's the manager in charge of all that is actually Trevor Timmons.
Yeah, but he makes the final call.
Yes, as he actually points out later on in
He
this
makes
article
the
about a
final
certain
call.
thing. Yes.
Alex Galchenyuk in 2012.
Huh?
No words. Michael McCarron, 2013.
Who got dealt in an AHL deal earlier this year.
2014, Nikita Sherbak.
Who is in the KHL.
2015, Noah Yulson.
Who is, that's unfortunate because he's had a lot of headache issues in that. But was playing in the NHL before it happened.
2016, Mikhail Sergachev. Pretty good.
Great! Yeah, I'm
Great.
based to be a 20-minute player on Tampa.
Right.
Turned it to Jonathan Drouin.
There we go.
Which we still have to wait to see what happens with that. But a great player. Yes, he drafted a fantastic player for another organization.
Right. 2017, Ryan Paling.
Yes, he's you know what? He's played some NHL games and all that.
And then the last 2 years are Kotkaniemi and Caulfield, which I think have been turned out.
19 and 18-year-olds.
Right.
Which we are.
Yeah, so we're not going to comment. But I think, I don't have to say it here.
It's 2016 onwards. Their drafting has improved, but you talk about that. What's the saying? You mess up on your first round pick, it sets your organization back 5 years.
Yeah.
He's failed to draft an impact player in the first round.
I mean, he drafted Mikhail Sergachev. That's an impact
Great player.
For another organization.
A big talking point was actually about Montreal's left side of the defense in this organization. First of all, so of course he comes in for the 2012 draft, which is a famous draft, as in, except for maybe 2 players, the top 6 of that draft is complete trash. And this is a little snippet on Morgan Rielly in 2012. Quote, "Yes, I liked him very much," this is Bergevin, "but I had just been hired on May 2nd and my staff liked Alex Galchenyuk very much. I was with Chicago that season and we were drafting later. We weren't wasting our time with Galchenyuk." Again, this is translated. "Who was probably going to be chosen from amongst the first. In addition, he had played that winter." Of course, I think what he tries to say here is, of course, for those of you who don't know, Galchenyuk actually had like a big injury issue and he didn't actually play a lot that year. Same with Morgan Rielly, fun fact.
Yes.
Continuing the quote. "In addition, he played the. I looked at our situation at center. We had David Desharnais, Thomas Plekanec at the time, a very good top 6 centerman, great 2-way, and Chucky was considered a second. That's Alex Galchenyuk. You're taking office. Haven't seen you. Sorry, what? Basically, what he's. Let me paraphrase this because the translation is very messy. What he basically tries to say here is, he doesn't want to come in straight away, go against his entire staff, and take Morgan Rielly. Now, Peter Chiarelli got a lot of flack for when he first came into Edmonton.
Yeah.
And was it Chiarelli?
Trent took who?
No, it wasn't Chiarelli because Chiarelli came in and then signed Lucic. So whoever was running the Oilers, maybe Craig McTavish, that the Oilers brain trust wanted them to take. Was it Ryan Murray first overall?
Ryan Murray was taken second overall.
So, and it was only the GM at the time of the Oilers who said, ignored their entire staff with Nail Yakupov. Nail Yakupov is now in the KHL. So, I'm going to give credit to Bergevin here. Okay, you listen to your staff. Now, at the same time, I find it very funny that you've come out after this is like Alex Galchenyuk's last stint in the NHL, sorry. You're probably the biggest reason because of how his development went. Now there's fault on 2 sides here. This part of the interview just kind of felt like kicking a player while they were down. I don't think this was mentioned. And just bring up the 70-point defenseman in your biggest rival. I like that a lot.
So, yeah, I see a couple things wrong there.
Do you want to hear his justification for the Jonathan Drouin trade?
Please, I really want to know.
So he says, quote, "If you look today a little, yes, it hurt our defense. This little trading away Mikhail Sergachev.
Your left side that's depleted.
Since the exchange in June 2017 to Jonathan Drouin has not yet reached his maximum potential," which is fair. He had a good stretch this season and he's still hurt now.
Yeah.
Continuing. "Until it is done, it's still difficult to compare the two. At the time, we had just lost Alex Radulov."
Okay.
And
because of him.
Because Mark Bergevin lowballed.
They lost Alex Radulov because of Mark Bergevin.
He would say taxes. But yes.
Mark Bergevin. Okay.
And bringing a Quebecer was important. Now, please remember, ladies and gentlemen, I'm translating this to the best of my ability. So I am also, if here's the question here: if you get Jonathan Drouin next year, what Jonathan Drouin was at the start of this season, and depending on how Romanov turns out, and Mete continues, then it's fine. But at the same time, you look at what Mikhail Sergachev already is now. The trade is starting to look like Tampa won it. So his
I would
justification
argue-
is that Jonathan Drouin was your replacement for Alex Radulov. Then why did you play him at center?
For me, I think the day that trade happened, Tampa Bay had won it. There were already you're trading Jonathan Drouin, who wanted who needed a fresh start, for a top prospect who could potentially be an impact player.
Yes. Who was
That's
probably
an
the
issue.
best defenseman in that draft with Mikhail Sergachev. So, and you may be asking, weird, because there's another defenseman they let loose, and that was Andrei Markov. And I've been vocal on this podcast about that. So he says about Andrei Markov, quote, "We wanted to sign him in 2017. We offered him more than what he received in Russia. He had no agent, and even his former agent said he would have advised him to accept our offer. I had to negotiate with him. It did not work. Shortly after, he even told someone close to the organization that he regretted not accepting our offer. Do I regret that he did not accept the offer? Yes, but I wouldn't have done anything different."
So isn't there an issue there for you because so first off he was going to receive more money in Montreal.
Yes. The report
So
at the time.
what's the common denominator?
Oh, it's remember
Marc
how
Bergevin.
we talked about that player agent poll, and the agents in there said that Bergevin has this thing of how he has his back against the wall when it comes to negotiations.
Yeah.
And again, this is the same Mark Bergevin after Radulov said, "If you want loyalty, get a dog," but he's bending over backwards for Ilya Kovalchuk with the Alex Romanov situation.
Right. So is there not? There's a common denominator here, and this is years later. When did Markov leave?
Markov left in 2017. Because, yeah, then it was the 17-18 season that was a total mess. So it was 2017.
Like, there has to be a point where you sit there and say, okay, this situation happened, this situation happened, this situation happened, and then this situation happened. And he's the common denominator in all of them. You know why you guys now have won the Arizona trade for Max Domi?
Why?
Because Max Domi needed a fresh start and got a good one. Alex Galchenyuk went to Arizona, didn't play well, got traded.
We mentioned a little earlier. So during this interview, it said that on either side of him, Bergevin had the VP of Public Affairs and Communications for the Canadiens, Paul Wilson, and the Director of Legal Affairs and Financial Head, John Sedgwick, in order to give the most detailed information possible. So I find that very, very interesting. But next, I'm sure we would like to talk. In this interview, one very interesting thing is Bergevin hints that the Habs are going to be looking at getting a scorer during the off season, which
I don't agree with it.
Huh?
So I don't agree. Listen,
them getting a scorer.
Do you guys want to do you want to finish the rebuild or you want to be stuck as Minnesota? Which one do you want? Because next year, despite what everyone's saying, is if Caulfield's not coming, who's supposed to be this generational scorer, why bring in another scorer? Have another down year?
Well, because he still thinks they can be competitive next year.
He's been saying this for how many years? At a certain point, again, he's been saying that you guys are going to be competitive. You guys had a down year. Oh, we're going to be competitive next year. Another down year. We're going to be competitive next year. You know who's saying the same thing? Paul Fenton was saying the same thing. Who was there before Paul Fenton? Chuck Fletcher?
Yes.
Chuck Fletcher was saying the same thing. Both of them are out of a job. Is it not concerning that we've heard the same thing about Montreal and nothing has changed? In fact, he's brought in depth players instead.
No, and that's the fault of Jeff Molson now, and the board there, that nothing has literally changed.
Correct.
It's going to be amazing at the end of the season where they meet up and Bergevin tries to explain what's going on. And there's a lot of stuff, like the athletic guys like Art Bombassi, Marc-Antoine Gaudin have talked about that. I legit think, and I brought him. That's why I brought him up potential GMs in New Jersey earlier. I really do think that Marc Bergevin is one bad meeting away.
From being gone.
Yeah, because I'm. Before we kind of hit a conclusion here, yes. So Cole Caulfield, if there's been one criticism of him, it's that yes, when he has the puck, fantastic. But you gotta. There's a big comparison to Patrick Laine here. It's whenever Caulfield doesn't have the puck, is you need to figure it all, everything else out. He's having an amazing freshman year for Wisconsin right now. So Bergevin says that they're going to tell him to stay in school for another year. But if Caulfield is very insistent, then he'll be playing with the Laval Rocket, which good. That's perfectly fine. That's what scouts are saying about him, and you don't want to rush him. Now, the same thing is said about Kotkaniemi, that first of all, he says he doesn't regret that KK made the team last year when, if you watched his training camp in the first 3/4 of his season, he deserved to be on. He was an NHL player, and they were disappointed what happened this year, and that, yeah, of course, it was a big disappointment, but they're very impressed how he's really stepped up his game in what he has done in Laval. And there was this very interesting part that I saw that was basically saying that it was really nice to see him, because apparently in the past with players that hasn't always been the case when they've tried to fix certain problems. And considering at the end of this article there was some Alex Galchenyuk stuff, I think there is a hint of that. And finally, when it comes to Jordan Harris, actually no, I won't mention exactly because I want people to read this article. And finally, Romanov, nothing is set in stone because you can't obviously, because he's still under contract somewhere. Right. But it looks like he will come back, and a big part of Kovalchuk was to entice Romanov.
Last question for me.
Yes.
Because we talked about what you talked about saying them getting a score.
Yes. I think that's a big part of that is Claude Julien has been begging him for years to go get one. Like when Caulfield was drafted, there's this behind the scenes video where Julien's like, "Yeah, get me more goal scorers, please."
Okay, what do you want them to do? Get a goal scorer or go through a proper rebuild? Because I don't think you can have both.
Oh, I want them to go through a rebuild, of course. I've wanted that for a past few seasons, but now I see, seeing where Bergeron wants to take the team, they've needed a finisher since Pacioretty left. And that's a big fault of Bergeron that they never went out and got it.
Right.
But then again, who's available and what price you're willing to pay? Because also Bergeron has a very bad habit of saying, "I'm not overpaying people in free agency."
Correct.
And now there have been whispers from Friedman that apparently people in the league have told him that the draft is in Montreal. They have plenty of picks.
Yeah.
That maybe he could make a move. But then I say to that, is it Groundhog Day, the movie? Because I think I've heard that before.
Yeah.
It's every trade deadline, every draft, free agency, we always hear the Habs are about to do something big, and it's just a constant disappointment. I don't know. It's just... It's so interesting. There's a part of me that almost wants Bergevin to keep his job just to see what this guy seems to have planned and just see it all blow up in his face again. And it's just his press conference after the trade deadline was just so... People were asking him the same questions because he just wasn't giving a proper answer, and he seemed so all over the place and just... I don't know what he's doing. How many times have we said that? I don't know what Bergevin's doing.
I feel like since episode 1 of this show, we've been saying the same thing.
I think we've been saying it since we met.
Yeah. Yeah.
What episode is this?
49.
This is episode 49.
Yeah, Wednesdays will be episode 50.
Oh, Alex, I don't think I'm available on Wednesdays. I think we're going to have to episode 50 on a Sunday in studio. Oh, no.
Did someone say pizza party? What? I don't know.
Yeah. Daniel better come.
Hopefully.
We're going to make him. Anyway.
Yes.
I think that's everything.
That is.
There
was nothing I see on Twitter.
Nothing? You did my damn Twitter check?
Yes.
You selfish bastard.
Well, the new LFR is up.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I think we're good. Leafs now on pace for only 3 fewer points than last season. from James Myrtle. I
Awesome.
say they do it. The Gretzky of viruses from the Saturday Star.
Oh, God.
Jesus Christ. Spittin' Chicklets quote tweeting that. All right. And I saw a tweet that said Henrik Lundqvist deserves better than this.
Probably.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, I guess that is it for this episode of the 2-in-1 Podcast, a new standard in sports podcasting. If you enjoyed this episode, here's what you need to do. If you're listening to this on, say, YouTube, you need to subscribe, leave a comment, let us know what you think. Tell me, who do you think New Jersey's next general manager would be? What do you think the Leafs are going to do in the offseason? Does Mark Bergevin deserve his job? If you're listening to this on Spotify, why not subscribe or follow, whatever you have to do on that. Apple Podcasts, the same thing. Leave a review, leave a rating, all of that kind of stuff. Wherever you listen to your podcast, if you can do any of that sort of stuff, you need to do it and share the show. We want more listeners, because why wouldn't we? We want more people to talk to. We want more engagement in this show. We love it. And while you're at it, check out the show's Instagram page as well as my YouTube channel while we're there, me and Alex's socials, and of course Daniel's. And why don't you go and tweet at Daniel saying good luck, tweet at the Score, TSN Sportsnet, telling them to give him a damn job because he deserves it. Alex,
Keep listening.
we're done.